I'm Stila Webb.
And I'm Shuvom and Stila.
I'm going to write my first fiction novel this year.
And I'm going to film it.
And we're going to release one video each week.
And if you keep up with Stila's word count, by the end of 2017, you'll have...
Because you are a character, doesn't mean that you have character.
Alright, campers. Real talk for a second. Real talk. We have, like, 4 of these huge whiteboards in our garage. They're like all magnetic and stuff. And we don't know what to do with them. So, would you guys be interested in, like, coming to our town and, like, having a convention where each person at the convention gets, like, a whiteboard to draw on for the day? And we plow your entire book, and we all kind of do it in, like, a group of 10 people in, like, a hotel ballroom somewhere? If you're interested in that, let us know in the comments, because we don't know what we're going to do with all these whiteboards.
They're not all magnetic. That's the problem.
So we don't know what we're going to do with all these whiteboards. Also, real talk for a moment.
Oh my gosh, too much real talk.
Real talk.
We need more fake talk. This realness is just too heavy.
Is anyone doing the homework? Like, are you guys keeping up with the homework? Is it even worth...
Is anybody doing any homework?
Is it worth putting the homework in at the end of each video? If you guys...
Pixar, it didn't happen.
If you guys aren't doing the homework, just let us know and we can take it out. We can make the videos like 30 seconds shorter each time.
Ooh, yeah, 30 seconds. I mean, that's some flabby extra 30 seconds right there. Really tighten it up.
Alright, Jenna Maroney, let's not...
That wasn't Jenna Maroney at all.
Let's talk about taking the videos later. So we're going to talk about...
Characters! Take 2.
Well, now we can talk about characters since your book is over, and you can see the whole story your characters traveled.
Yep, and things change when you do that.
I'm going to replace you with a Muppet. I'm going to replace you with just a little Muppet someday. So now you can see your characters, because you finished your first draft, you can see their whole journey. So it's time to edit that.
Yeah.
I'm so going to replace you with a puppet. Now, what you're going to do is, now that you got your whole book written out, like you're supposed to last week with your homework, is you have to make sure you have the right character moments in your book.
Yeah.
And there's some essential ones, no matter what you're writing, you have to have. The number 1 important character moment is...
Let your characters be themselves.
No. So
That's what says number 1 on it, you dick! So when we say let your character be themselves, what we mean is to have a scene that distills the character down to their essence, who they are at their core. In the beginning of Ghostbusters, you get a really good scene of this where Peter Venkman is giving the psychic test. And it tells you everything you need to know about that character, how he interacts with males, females, what his motivations are, and who he is at the core
yeah,
of his being.
it shows him being a little bit shady, but also sneaky, and he's got like a good charisma, right?
He's totally the bard of the party.
Yeah, he's trying to do as little work as possible. Notice that the other characters don't really get that good of an introduction, because Peter Venkman is our viewpoint character. We travel with him. So early on, they let him be himself. So look through your story grid, look at your individual scenes, and figure out, is there a scene where your character is themselves? In Infinity Squad 1, I nailed this without even trying. I had a scene where the main character was trying to be a little bit selfish, but then there was an alien attack, and instead of being selfish and carrying out some treasure, he had to go back and he saved some of his co-workers, some of his other soldiers.
Well, he tried to, yeah.
Yeah, well, he saved some of his soldiers, yeah. And so that let him be himself. You understood right away what he was.
In mine, I actually open up with the twins talking to each other on their way to a party that helps to distill who they are. That interaction tells you which one's in charge, which one's the follower, how they view the world, one's okay with being late, one needs to be on time, things like that. It gives you a good idea of who your characters are.
Oh yeah, Shrek.
Yeah,
Okay.
the very first scene, opening scene in the credits of Shrek tells you exactly who Shrek is. He's taking bath in mud, he's farting, he's scaring people, he's making things dirty. This is who he is.
Yeah, but imagine that first scene in Shrek where he actually just like, instead of scaring people, just like rips someone's head off and kills them, right? It's a totally different movie.
Ooh, yeah. Wow,
Right?
that got dark.
Right, but that's why the opening scene is so important. It sets the expectation of the character the whole way.
Yeah.
So, look back in your story grid. Is the first scene where your character's introduced, does it show who they are? Is it the most charactery moment that they have?
Deadpool does the same thing. The first intro in him tells you exactly who Deadpool is.
Yeah, most good movies do this. Top Gun does this, right? You know from the first scene what Maverick is, who Maverick is.
Even Game of Thrones, the first scene Ned Stark is in tells you exactly who he is as a person. It distills him down to his essence.
Yeah. Right, so that's... Does it help if I just put a number 1 here? No. We're probably gonna...
You're going to need to write that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to screw that. Alright, so that's number 1. Number 2 scene I did make sure the book has in it, in the climax, in the big huge battle at the end, the character has to be themselves again. And what they are as a character should help them win in the climax.
Yeah.
So can I replace you with a puppet?
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. I'm looking at it through what my characters are, and I realize, yes, that's true, because she's basically been suppressing who she is the whole time because everybody doesn't think it's okay.
Yeah, otherwise it's not satisfying.
Right.
If the
You're
character
right.
at the end wins because of some, like, Deus Ex Machina or some other character doing something, or just they have bigger, more numbers, or they've got better weapons, it's not satisfying. They have to win at the end by being the most of who they are.
Yeah, being themselves, yeah.
Yeah. So check to see in your climax, does the main character win because of who they are? Does it shown?
Do they take their personality and go to 11?
Yeah, that's what should happen. Given those 2 points,
Throw it at me.
at the beginning, at the end, you've got the character being who they are and the character being who they are. How do we get in between? There are 3 ways, Stila.
There's the positive arc. Faster, faster, faster! The negative arc. Oh my god, you're so slow. I'm going to replace you with a puppet. And a static arc. This basically... Ah!
Why is it called a positive arc?
Because the character travels from point A to point B, making a positive change in who they are as a character.
Yeah. They learn something, they grow. This is what people typically think of when they think of a character arc is, oh, they were a selfish person at the end, but they learned the value of teamwork through their travel, right?
A negative character arc means that they go through, but they don't change as a person, or instead of changing a flaw and learning, they dig deeper into that flaw and they fail at what they're trying to do, or become a worse person.
Yeah, this happens in a lot of tragedies.
Tragedies
So,
do this.
Breaking Bad.
A lot of your literature does this.
Yeah. But sometimes it's satisfying. Sometimes it's to see a person try and then just fail at the end and be like, overcome by their own worst demons. It teaches you something. So Greek tragedies were popular.
A lot of mythology does that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, any fable, right?
Yeah, a lot of fables and mythology.
Icarus, any kind of fable.
There's also a static arc. And this means the character doesn't change. The fact that they have such strong convictions is what carries them through. And the lack of change is what makes them win in the end.
Yeah, at first blush, this seems kind of boring. But the cool... again, this is in that book by K.M. Weiland that we're all reading.
Totally link that below.
But the point of the static character arc is that at the climax, their beliefs are challenged. Like, the world wants them to change. The villain wants them to change. And the way this character wins is by staying the same.
This is what happens in the 2nd and 3rd Star Wars movies with Luke. He holds on to the good side of the Force and refuses to change.
Yeah.
He is a static character in those 2. In the first one, he's positive. In the second 2, it's a static change.
Yeah, just the last one, the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He doesn't... When he's in the beginning and he's in Jabba the Hutt's palace, he's trying to do non-violence. He's trying to, find a non-violent solution. And at the end, with the Emperor, he's trying to do the same thing. He turns off his lightsaber.
Right.
He doesn't learn anything, but the victory is staying who he is.
Right, because he learned the lesson in the first movie, and in the 3rd movie, he's holding on to that conviction, and that's what makes the world around him change. That is what inspires his father to change.
Yeah, I was looking at Infinity Squad 1, and I was like, oh, there wasn't really a character arc. He didn't really learn anything. Forrest didn't learn anything.
No.
But Infinity Squad 1 was a static one. He kept to his beliefs, and that's what made him win. Infinity Squad 3, which I'm writing right now, is another static one.
The trick, or what makes them so different, is in a positive arc, the character changes because of the world and the events around him. In a static arc, the world changes around the hero because the hero is so solid. So you have 2 very different ideas going on here.
Yeah, still satisfying.
Still satisfying, absolutely.
So, this again from the K.M. Weiland book. So we had these 3 arcs. What did you learn about your book, Stila? How did you originally have Bria's character arc?
Brea was more static.
Okay, so it was static. So how did she start off originally?
She was the decision maker of the twins.
And then how did she end up?
Still kind of being the decision maker of the twins.
Right. It could work, but why wasn't it working in this book?
So it didn't work because the leitmotif I'd had running through the whole book to this point was that everybody else had more information and knew more about the world and was trying to make decisions for her.
Yeah. So people were making decisions for them the whole time, and so it didn't make sense for her to be the same at the beginning and end.
Yeah, it didn't make sense for her to be decisive in that instance.
So what did you change?
I changed it to she is the less decisive one and allows everybody else to make decisions around her.
At the beginning.
At the beginning. And then at the end, she wins because she makes a decision.
Yeah, so she has a positive arc in this case.
In this instance, she has a positive arc, and it makes better sense with the whole theme of the book.
Yeah. So in that case, you had two twins.
Yes.
Brea was your main character.
Right.
Who was making all decisions.
Yep.
And Bella was kind of the follower.
Right.
But what did you do?
I'm going to switch those two up now. And that makes a lot more sense because as I was going through, I realized Bella didn't have anything to do because Brea was already making all the decisions.
Yeah.
And that was also a failure of the book.
Yeah,
So it solved a lot of problems.
Remember, yes, last week we talked about going from big to small. This is a big change you have to make now because you can't polish all these scenes and then realize that your twins have to change who they are.
Yep.
So now we've got that set. We went from a static arc, but it didn't make sense for the book. And now we're going to a positive arc where she's changed throughout the course of the book.
Yep.
Okay, cool. After you've looked at the three arcs, decided which one your character does, and if the action of the book supports it, the theme of the book, then you have to ask, do your characters pull their own weight?
The characters all have to have some sort of function, especially your main characters. The people you see through the majority of the book, they have to have a purpose. They have to be doing something in the scenes that they're in. Otherwise, there's no point for them to be there. They're just wasted space and wasted description.
Well, how do you tell if they're doing something in each scene?
This is when you go back to your story grid, add columns for your main characters, and then go through either your chapters or your scenes and figure out which scenes are they in and what are they doing in each scene.
Yeah, so if you have a grid, or you have one character that shows up in every scene, and then you have one character that shows up in just one scene, and you have something like this, you can be like, huh, do we need character B? Like, this is something you can only see at a 10,000 foot view when you do a story grid. So maybe character B and C can be combined into something, or maybe character B just dropped out completely.
Yeah.
Like in the book, Fight Club. Now, with award-winning actors, Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, in the book. They're in the book! There was a character like this in the book. There was a character called The Mechanic, who was in just one or two pivotal scenes. And when they made him into the movie, they just combined that character with Brad Pitt's character, with Tyler Durden. And it made so much more sense in the movie. But you don't realize it until you grid it out.
The other thing this can show you is if you have characters carrying too much weight, your main character should probably show up in all the main scenes. But
especially if it's a first-person book.
If you go through and you find that your main character's here, but then your side characters are in exactly the same scenes, every single scene, always doing something, they might be doing a bit too much. And it's kind of unrealistic to have everybody doing all the same things all the time.
Well, okay, here, watch this. This was your book, right?
That's my book right now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So she has three main characters, and they're in every scene.
Yeah.
So what's the answer?
Outside of like one or two. Yeah. And it makes it very difficult, especially when you get to the bad guys close in, when your team is supposed to break up, and there's only three people, and then the two people leave and only one of them comes back. You're not really gathering much of a team in that instance. But I do have other characters I had planned to bring in later in the series anyway, and I have them set up. I know who they are. I know what they're doing. So I should probably bring them in.
Yeah, replace one of the heavily loaded main characters with a side character, with a mechanic, with a, an ally, a young kid who's kind of tagged along for the adventure, some comic relief.
A waitress at an all-night diner that the character's been to 3 or 4 times. Have them say something cool and interesting that puts some things together instead of everything being on the main characters.
Yeah. So the problem is, it's hard to tell young writers, go all the way to this extreme or go all the way to that extreme. It's like everything else, you gotta find the optimized point.
You find a good balance.
Yeah, so you can't always reduce characters or always add. You gotta see where they are, grid it out, and see how loaded your characters are. Which is probably why Chuck Palahniuk added the mechanic, because he thought Tyler Durden was too heavily loaded. But that's why they took him out and in the movie, because they want to make it simpler. Just like Game of Thrones, book versus movie, all the characters are combined. They still hit the same emotional points, but some of the character marks are combined.
Every character at their core has some sort of idea, either a conviction or a lie.
Don't look what I'm doing.
I'm trying to think of how to word it.
You're pattering.
I know. All right, fine.
All right, snap. We did better. Fix that in post. So, K.M. Wilde talks about there's a lie at the core of your character. So, what do we mean by lie? Stila?
The lie is a worldview that your character has that is impeding them from growing as a character.
Better.
That is somehow impeding them from being who they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like at Thor, the movie Thor, the lie in his book, the lie in the beginning of the movie is he believes he has a right to be king.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just going to grow up to be king no matter what. Like, and that's the thing he has to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about this lie is you can't just plop a lie down in the middle of a character. The lie has to be caused by something.
Mm-hmm.
And K.M. Weiland calls that the ghost. It's a really kind of fun term. This is something that's following your character around, just like a little ethereal ghost always nagging in their ear.
Yep.
It's usually something that happened to them in the past. The K.M. Weiland talks about in Toy Story, the ghost is, the toys know what happens to unloved toys. Like, they get thrown
Yeah.
away. So that's
Yeah.
always kind of haunting the characters as they walk around. If you want to figure out how these two are related, you have to ask yourself, why does the character believe in the lie? Usually it's because of the ghost. Go ahead.
Romance novels are big on this. They always have something
yeah.
horrible happen to the main hero, and that's why he can never love again. He doesn't think he's worthy of the heroine's love.
Yeah,
it's all over the place.
He's always like
in
lost a wife in a car crash, and he blames himself, and okay, I
Yep.
can't love again. That's his ghost, which leads to the lie of I can't be loved, and that's how he overcomes it. Good example.
Yep.
Good example.
I figured out what it is in my book.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it made sense. Bella is the organized one, and Brea is the more chaotic, seat of the pants, just go do stuff one. Then the lie is that she's not good enough to make those decisions. It should be this one because she's careful and considers things, and you should always make decisions that way. So she's just used to not making the decisions.
Okay. So kind of the theme is like you should trust like your sleeping mind. You should trust like your instinct
Yeah.
sometime.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Good for cats.
Good for cats.
Good for cats. So again, looking back at your story grid, do you have a lie? Is it caused by some sort of ghost that only you know? And do you show the lie making the character miserable in the first scene? In Top Gun, Maverick's like trying to push too much to the edge, right? Goose is like, oh, Maverick, we can't do this, it's too risky. And Maverick is kind of, it's not making his life miserable. Oh, well, he does get chewed out by the tower. You don't remember Top Gun
It
at all.
doesn't necessarily have to make your life miserable, but it has to have an obvious negative impact on either your life or on who you are.
Yeah, or on the people around you. Yes,
On the people around you, right.
At the beginning of Shrek, Shrek's lie that I can't be loved because I'm an ogre is making his life miserable.
Yeah. Well, he thinks he's happy being alone. The reason a static arc doesn't have this, again, is because the character doesn't change. The world around them changes.
Yeah, maybe the world has a problem. Yeah.
The world has a problem, and it's the job of the main character to change the world.
Yeah. So you can have the ghost revealed right away. If you want a little bit more of a mystery, a little bit more intrigue, you can just have hints of the ghost, and then that could be another reason to pull the reader through the book. So that's what I'm doing in Infinity Squad 3, is I know what Anne-Marie's ghost is, both of them, and I'm dropping hints, because I was worried, it's like, oh, should I put this at the beginning, should I reveal it? But it's much more fun to drop hints a little bit and kind of keep the intrigue up. It's a nice B story to the plot. Yeah. Okay. So,
If you have a static arc, make sure you've got a good conviction and that they actually have that challenge in the middle of the book. In the climax.
the other thing you're looking for in your book is turning points. When something's going wrong and it changes to turn right, every decisive turning point in your book should be because of a character action.
Yes.
Whether it's the break into 2, the midpoint, the break into 3, but the all is lost, the climax, make sure as you go through the book, there are certain turning points where the character is faced with a clear decision and then makes an A or B.
And then that is what creates the next situation they get into, is which decision they made.
Yeah, that's what the Game of Thrones is great about, is that decisions have consequences. But the point is, look through the book and make sure at turning points, it's not the set piece that's making the decision, like a bridge collapses and a character goes a certain way because the bridge broke down. It's not the supporting characters. It's not the plot that's pushing the character. The character is faced with a clear decision and makes one of them.
Right.
Here's a pro tip. If you want to really hammer this home, give the main character the same choice twice. Every kids movie does this. Every Pixar movie does this.
Very blatantly.
Yeah. So this is the more blatant option. But you give them this choice at the beginning of the movie, and they make the wrong choice. And you give them the same choice at the end, and they make the right choice. It's a very simple way to show the character's growth. Like for Superman, right? If in the Man of Steel movie, he had a choice to kill the bad guy at the beginning, and he makes, I'm not going to kill bad guys, and at the end he kills Zod, that's growth. The reason Man of Steel didn't work is he made the choice at the end, oh, I'm going to kill Zod, but there was
No setup.
there was no corresponding choice at the beginning to say, oh, I don't do this to show his growth. So, if you want to get really sneaky, give him the same choice 3 times. Then you can do some real...
Dark Knight, that bad boy.
Yeah, you can do some double switchbacks and make some really interesting choices there. So, one of the big things of K.M. Weiland is the characters want certain things at the beginning, but they need other things.
Yes, I've seen that in a couple other places. Yeah, there's wants and then needs.
So, as you're going through your book, your first scene with your character should show who they are. It doesn't have to be the first scene, but maybe first, second, third scene should show what they want, right? You should be very clear about this character wants, Luke wants to get off the farm. You know, Maverick wants to be, I keep calling him Top Gun. Maverick wants to be the Top Gun, right? He wants to be the best. Does your scene show what the character wants? You know, is the character looking at something? Is the character passing by a window and seeing a dress she can't have? You know, whatever it is, show it. Don't just say it. I skimmed a book called Helldivers.
Skimmed.
It's a really bad book, and because it has things, it says things at the beginning like, these were the toughest soldiers in the whole Earth force, and they knew it. It just says it.
Yeah.
Why not show that somehow and show what the main character needs and wants, and just a lot of telling in that book. So, show what the main character wants.
Yeah, these are instances when show is necessary.
At the beginning, yeah.
At the beginning, you need to show who they are and what they want and what they need through people talking to them, through the decisions that they're making.
Pro tip number 2.
Pro tip! I'm excited there, too.
Follow each character to the story. You're doing this for your main character, but all the side characters, when they get introduced, can you see exactly who they are from what they want? Do you know what they want? Do they make a turning point as they get through? Michael Bay movies, for all their people make fun of Michael Bay movies, do this very well. Mm-hmm. When a sassy cabbie is introduced in a Michael Bay movie, he's sassy from the very first scene. You know what he wants, and then at the end, he gets less sassy or learns a lesson or something. So follow every character to the book. Maybe follow your villains, follow your side characters.
All your main characters and all your big side characters, they should all have their own ghost or conviction or something that drives them through. And a lot of them should be slightly divergent from what the main character wants. So the main point of looking at both your plot and your characters is to make sure that those two mesh well to make a good, solid, cohesive, and interesting story. And once you've got those two down, then we can start breaking it down further. Next week, we're going to talk about going scene by scene.
Homework is define your main character's lie. How does it make their life miserable? Define your main character's ghost. What caused them to believe that lie?
And what is your main arc for your main character?
Well...
Positive, negative, or static?
Yeah, which of the 3 arcs are they doing? The first scene in which they're introduced, do they show their characterness? Do they show their character? And does their character help them win the climax? And then after that, keep track of a big turning point in the middle. Make sure it's character choice. If you do all that, you got a pretty good book.
Yep.
Wang. Jenna Maroney wouldn't give you homework.
Hey, I'm gonna be Jenna Maroney.
Is that your Jenna Maroney face?
Jenna Maroney.
It's funny because it's true. It's every one of her videos.